Hey everyone, Andrew Stormer here, and welcome back to another computer tutorial. And today we're talking speakers and headphones. And there is a ton to go over today, so stick with me. I'll try to get through it as fast as possible. Right now we're on PC Part Picker, but it really isn't a good website to pick out your headphones with. So we're going to be skipping all over the place, but first off, you can see we have channels here. Channels, there's a bunch more than this. There's two, as you can see, and that means you have two individual speakers that can get sound separately. That means that you can have sound sent to the left and to the right, and it is fine. It's not like two different sources having the same sound information. A 2.1 means you still have those left and right, but then you also have a sub. And then you have your 5.1, and 7 and 7.1. And those mean, like the 5 means you can have 5 different speaker sources, and 7 means you can have 7. And usually when you'd see a 5 or 7 is in like a home theater area where they're sending sound to the left in the front, the right in the front, the left, the right, and then the back, and then a sub, all separately. That'd be like for a 5, and then a 7, just add 2 more. So it just depends on your layout, and if you're just doing simple computer speakers or headphones, a 2 or 2.1 is perfectly fine. And to finish off the things on PC Part Picker right here, a mic on your headphones, that'd be like a headset where you have a mic here so you can talk to your friends instead of having an external mic. Wireless, it could be a Bluetooth headphones or Bluetooth speakers instead of wired, but I think wired's better, but there are some instances where no cord is really nice. And then active noise canceling. So there's 2 different types of noise canceling, technically 3. The technically third one is closed back, which just cuts out all sound from coming in, even though it doesn't cut out all sound, it just blocks sound. Passive noise canceling means there's acoustic foam inside of the headphones that cut out other outside frequencies from coming in. It just gets eaten up by the foam instead of you hearing it. Now, active noise canceling, that means there's like a little microphone or something that detects all the sounds coming from the outside of you, and it sends frequencies mixed in with whatever you're listening to that actually cancels out the incoming frequencies. I've heard it myself. We did it in physics class or something where you could play one frequency and then you could play a different frequency that canceled it out, and it was just silent. It's really weird, but it works. Now, I personally don't recommend active noise canceling because to me, it actually gives me more ear fatigue. Ear fatigue's like when you have too much pressure from headphones and speakers just right at your ears for a long period of time. And to me, active noise canceling actually does it more for some reason. And some cars even have active noise canceling inside of them to make everything quieter and cut out road noise and such. And I actually get ear fatigue in a stupid car because it has active noise canceling. Personally, I hate active noise canceling, but some people love how it makes everything from the outside just dead silent, so all you can hear is what's in your headphones. So it is a cool feature, but I just go with the passive and close back, but it's preference. If we jump over to some random speaker set right here, you can see it's a 2.1, so it has the 2 speakers and then the sub. And first thing you see here is frequency range. And this is the most important part of picking out any speaker, any headphone. So what this means is the frequencies that those speakers can reproduce. And in this case, it's 20 Hertz to 20,000 Hertz. So that's what I call the 20/20 range. And humans can only hear 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. So we should all buy headphones with 20/20 range. Wrong. If we jump over to here, this is a frequency response graph, and you can see the 20 hertz is marked here and the 20,000 hertz is marked with this line right here. And in this specific set of speakers, that it kind of drops off at 20 and it actually peaks at 20,000. What 20/20 means, like on the speakers that we were at a second ago, that means that those are the last frequencies that those speakers can reproduce. So that's where it drops off and you can't hear it anymore. So a 20/20 would actually be down here and down here at 20. So you'd have this arch that comes up and then levels out and then dips back down and goes down. That would be a 20/20. What you want is outside the 20/20. You want like something crazy like 5 hertz to 50,000 hertz, something like that. Because what that means is that drop off is gonna be on the outside of what you can actually hear. So it's, if we make the graph go further out, let's say this is 5 hertz, that means it's gonna come up outside of 20 hertz that we can hear and level off inside so we can actually get the full range of our hearing, and we can actually hear if a 20 hertz sound is played, versus when a 20/20 you wouldn't be able to hear a 20 hertz sound because it's so quiet it doesn't even exist. And then same with this, if it goes way out to 50, it goes outside the 20 and then it drops off. So that is the most important thing. If you don't take away anything else, take away that. The next thing here is impedance, and this is measured in ohms. So this particular set is 25 ohms, and like earbuds and such, those are like 1 to 5 ohms, and there's other speakers that and headphones that are like 30 ohms, 40, 50 ohms, and you're like, what's that mean? Ohms in electrical terms is actually resistance, which means you're losing efficiency. It means when the sound is traveling through the wire, it's actually losing a bunch of the sound, which then you're like, you should get a 1 ohm speaker. No, it's really weird, and this is one of the only places in electrical wiring and everything that you actually want more resistance. It's really weird, and somehow I don't quite understand how it works, but my guess is that the more resistance you have, the more it like shaves off the side frequencies or whatever, like the peaking ones, so it makes a more even sound. It levels out all the sounds going to your ears. What it kind of means is that the higher the ohms, actually the better sound you're gonna get from it, but it also means that the more ohms, that means you need to power it more. It needs to be given more power. So 1 ohm set of earbuds, you can just press once or twice on your phone and it'll power it fine. You can hear it at fine volume. But when you plug it in a 50 ohm set of headphones, just those 2 clicks, it's gonna be like silent, and you're gonna have to crank it way up to give it more power to actually hear it, because the more ohms takes away some of that power. Basically, you have to give it more power to push it all the way to your ears. Here's a Bayer Dynamic set of headphones, and you can see it goes up to 250 ohms. And then even crazier is this speaker right here. This one has 30,000 ohms. That's absurd. And so what that means is it takes so much more power to get it through that your computer or your phone doesn't have the power to push the sound to those speakers. So that's where amps come into play. And for headphones, you have headphone amps. And one example is, this is the Sheet Magni, just a random one here. And it plugs into your computer, and you plug in your headphones right here, and then you can change the volume right there. And it just gives more power to your headphones to be able to boost the sound so you can actually hear it. In my case, I have a Yeti mic, and that actually has a built-in headphone amp, which that's pretty cool. This would be for if you don't have any sort of amp. Big speakers that have tons of ohms and a high impedance, they need their own amp. Like a speaker sometimes has a different plug than a headphone. So a speaker amp would be something like this. This is just a random one, and this is more of a studio one, not like go to the club kind of amp they use there or at some big event. This speaker here that has the 30,000 ohms actually has built-in amps into the speaker. When a speaker itself has a built-in amp, those are actually called studio monitors. Sometimes it can get really confusing, and context matters, that people can be saying, you like those monitors over there, and they're actually talking about their speakers. They're not talking about their screen, they're talking about their speakers. SNR, this is your signal to noise ratio. I talked about this in the sound card video, and I'll go over it again really quick here. That super basically, it's the amount of decibels in between your white noise and your actual sound. And the bigger the better, which means the more distance, because I've used speakers in the past that had a really bad SNR, and you can be listening to music, but there's this constant hum and white noise in the background, and it's super annoying. So the higher the SNR, the better. Also right here, THD, this means total harmonic distortion. And this one says less than 1%. That's pretty good. Basically, this means the bigger the percentage means the less accurate sound is actually being reproduced. So you want the smallest amount possible. And if we jump back over to these ones here, you can see that this THD is less than 0.5%. So it's less than half of the other ones, meaning it's even a better sound. In headphones, there's mono and there's stereo. And mono, what that means is it's just sending the sound through the speakers. So in headphones, you have two speakers, one on each side, and mono just means it's sending the sound through each speaker. Stereo means that it can actually pinpoint what part of the speaker it wants to send sound to, and I think that's really cool. And in gaming, this can be really helpful, because if you're doing some FPS or something, that you can actually hear where someone is. So that footsteps or the lightning strike or the gunshot over there, you can actually tell if it's above you or below you or behind you or coming out the side of you or in front of you or anything, because stereo headphones can actually use a certain part of the speaker. It's really crazy, but definitely get stereo headphones. There's some different enclosure types. So on the Beyerdynamic website here, they call it operating principle, but it's really the enclosure type. And this only applies to over-ear headphones and maybe on-ear headphones, which I'll go over all of that in a minute. Closed means it's closed fully around your ears. No sound is trying to be let in. It's all just blocking all the surrounding air. There's semi-open, which means there's a tiny bit of holes or something in there, so it lets a tiny bit of outside noise in, but not that much. And then there's open, which you can still hear what's going on in your headphones, but you're also very aware of what's going on all around you. How I've had it told to me what it's like is that open is like having the music come into your room. So like you're hearing everything that's going on around you, but what you're listening to is coming in your room. It's meeting you there. When closed is you're leaving your room and you're going to the music. You are meeting the music there. Open is when you want the music to be with you, and closed is when you want to be with the music. It sounds kind of weird and kind of hippie a little bit, but to some of you it might make sense. And I prefer closed because when I want to really listen to a song, I want to listen to all of it. I don't want other things around me interfering with what I'm hearing. And also, if you're recording or anything, it's not that big of a problem, but it can be a problem sometimes. An open back can let the sound leak out, and if you're recording, that sound can go back into your mic. And then you have like the sound from your game or whatever, and then from your headphones at the same time, and they clash a little bit, and it's really weird, and I don't prefer it. It's also why I record with headphones and not with speakers, is because with speakers you would hear back that audio through the mic really distorted, and it'd be really weird. When you're on like Skype with someone and you have speakers and you're talking to someone, they can say something and it can go back into your mic, and they can then hear themselves like seconds later because of latency and lag. And it's just a whole big mess that you really don't want to get into. So if you do any sort of recording, do it with closed back headphones. Some people can get away with open, but I would just recommend closed. Now, the one difference with closed and kind of semi-closed versus open is that pressure, where closed back, all that sound pressure is in your ears, and that's all where it is. There's no escaping. So after a long time, you can get ear fatigue, where your ears just feel kind of worn out and hurt a little bit. While open back, it actually lets that pressure escape. So that's a different upside to open back. There's some different types of headphones. So like in-ear would be like your earbuds. You have on-ear, which actually just sits on your ear. Like you can see the outside of your ear still. It's just like a little circle like right there or something that just slaps on. I've had them in the past, but I actually like my over ear, which is another type, because those get you fully immersed in it instead of just like a little music in the background. Then there's circummural or whatever, however you say it, which is an over ear, but it's circular, when an over ear could be some different shape, like Astro is kind of more a rectangle around your ear. One thing I've noticed is that you're going to get a better frequency response with over-ear headphones than earbuds. So when you're looking at that, if you want like really good quality sound and you want to hear everything that an artist has put into their song, over ear or really good studio monitors or something with a high frequency range, you're gonna hear so much more than just a little set of earbuds. My headphones here, you can see they're circular, they're over ear like this. They fully encompass my ears. They're not like on, just sitting on a tiny part of my ear. And then some headphones, they have this where the band can actually adjust for your head size. And then also comfort is something that you want to look into, because if you're going to be wearing headphones all the time, like if you're in studio mixing or if you're making music, you want something that's comfortable. And these personally are not that comfortable. This is just like a little rubber piece or something. It's not really that comfortable. Like my head up here sometimes starts hurting after a while, and I have to like shift them around and stuff. Comfort is definitely a thing you want to look into. Some have like cushiony pads in here. Some have the whole thing a cushion pad, or some have like a thing that you can wrap around it. And there's one set that I can think of that has this piece that goes from here and kind of across here over to here. So your head is actually resting on this piece of fabric in the middle, while the arch with the cord and everything is above it. So all the weight isn't actually just straight on your head. You have that nice cushion there. And also like these pads that go on your ear here. These ones are actually coming apart. You can't really see it, but after a couple years, this whatever material this is actually falling apart, and I get like black specks on my face, and it's really annoying and such. But other companies, they make different things, like some have a memory foam, which I've heard is super comfortable. Also, some headphones, they can also like fold up and be super portable. With headphones, there's so many different options out there. The main thing that I would say to look into is frequency range. I know there was a lot to cover, but I hope it made sense. And that's gonna do it for this one. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.